Thus far, we have discussed the 5 elements under the step 4. Let's continue with the rest of the remaining elements. Okay, starting with this BIM process design. So, as mentioned in this step 2, where you have the overview of your various BIM users or the different types of this BIM model, and then you go into the phase 2 of step 2, where you put in more details into your BIM model users. Okay, is the same. So process map provide a detailed plan for the implementation of each BIM use. That means each type of a BIM model. It also defines the specific information exchange for each activity, building foundation for the entire execution plan. So what you need to do is to at least come up with an overview map of the different types of BIM users that is going to take place throughout the different phases of your project. And once you have that, you need to zoom into the individual BIM use to come up with a detailed map for every one of the individual BIM use or the individual type of model, where you describe the elements, okay, on each map. Right, so that we have discussed in step 2. We can go back to step 2 to take a look. Then this one is pretty much like step 3, okay, where the team will document the information exchange created as part of the process planning, okay, in the PEP project execution planning, okay, plan. So the information exchange will illustrate the model elements by discipline, whether it's architecture, structure, M&E, so on and so forth. LOD, okay, the level of detail, okay, whether are you using the US system or the UK system. Or US system is LOD 100 until 500. UK system is this LOD 1 to LOD 7. Okay, and the specific attribute important to the project. Now the models, okay, the different BIM users, okay, or that is being used at different stages of the project, need not include every element of the project. But it's important to define the model components and discipline-specific deliverables to maximize the value and limit unnecessary modeling on the project. Okay, so that is under this BIM information exchange. Because the project is going to be handed over to the end user, we will also need to take into account the requirements of the end user, or sometimes we call it the facility data requirements. So this project execution plan should document the BIM requirements, okay, in the native format from the owner to plan and deliver these requirements. And also put in the required information that allow the end user to be able to carry out the day-to-day operation or the required maintenance of the facility more effectively. For example, you need to put in information that is relevant. For example, say you have a door and the door is fire rated. You need to then put down, what is the fire rating of the door. As much as possible, you may also want to put in information in relation to the door, as in the door components, who is the manufacturer of the different door components, so that when the time comes for the facility team to maybe replace the door or replace the components, they already have access to the information in the model itself. Okay, so that is very important to the OMN, okay, or the FM people. There will also be a need to put in, the procedures for the collaboration between so many different parties or stakeholders throughout the different phases of the project. And everything comes down from this collaboration strategy, where you write down, okay, document, you write down how the project team will collaborate in general. Okay, when planning, we consider items such as communication methods, document management and transfer, and record the storage and all that. And then you also put in to your documents, okay, the collaboration activity procedures. where you identify all collaborative activities that support, okay, or are supported by BIM, determine which project stage or phase that activity will take place, determine the appropriate frequency for that activity, determine the participants necessary to conduct the activity effectively, determine the location for the activity that is going to take place. You also need to have the model delivery schedule of information exchange for submission and approval. So information exchange name, information exchange sender, information exchange receiver, one time or frequency of exchange, start and due date, the model file type, software used to create a file, the native file type, the file exchange types. You also need to designate the workplace for the stakeholders to undertake their work. Okay, where will the team be co-located? Where is the location and what will be that space? Will there be a trailer, that means a location, okay, where the different stakeholders they are doing these BIM users, okay, will be located? Where will it be located, and what will be in the space, such as the whether is there any sufficient provision of the computers, projectors, tables, the configuration of the tables, the layout, and all that. And lastly, under the collaboration procedures, you will need to have a electronic communication procedure where you establish communication protocol with all project team members, like for example, use email or WhatsApp or combination or what is it, the Zoom, okay, or what. Or electronic communication with the stakeholders can be created, uploaded, sent out, archived to a collaborative project management system. Save copies of the project-related communication for safekeeping and future reference. Document management, okay, that means the file folder structure, permission and access, folder maintenance, folder notification, file naming convention, okay, all should also be resolved and defined in under this particular procedure section. Presence of a procedure for quality control is very important, okay, to ensure that the project is done with the acceptable quality. So the following quality control checks, there are 4, okay, should be considered when determining the plan for the quality control of the BDC project. Right. So in terms of a visual check, okay, ensure that there are no unintended model components, okay, and the design intent has been followed by using the navigation software. Okay, you need to do the interference check or detect problem in the model where 2 building components are clashing by the conflict detection software, or a standards check, ensure that the model is to the standard agreed upon by the team, and also element validation. Ensure that the data set has no undefined or incorrectly defined elements. These are the basic requirements for quality control in any VDC related projects. The technology infrastructure needs will also have to be satisfied. So under this area, you need to look into the software, the hardware, as well as the modeling content and the reference information. As far as software is concerned, the teams and the organizations will need to determine which software platform, for example, Autodesk, Revit, and other platforms like say StatPro, Tekla Structure, okay, maybe a Grasshopper, yeah, Navis Work, so on and so forth. There are many types of platforms, okay, and versions of the software that is necessary to perform the different BIM uses. So you need to take note that you don't only have one BIM model. You have different types of BIM models that allow the stakeholders to perform different uses. So we call it BIM users, right? That were selected during the planning process. Okay, for example, in the step 1, right? Yeah. Or agreed upon the software platform early in the project to remedy possible interoperability issues. Okay. Or file format for information transfer should already be agreed upon during the information exchange planning step. At least ensure that the output can be .ifc. Okay, yeah. Teams should agree upon a process for changing or upgrading software platform and version so that the party does not create an issue where the model is no longer interoperable with other parties. That is under the software requirement. Under the hardware, the project team will have to choose hardware that is most in demand, okay, and most appropriate for the majority of the BIM users. Yeah, and also consider that the hardware downstream it must not be less powerful, okay, than the hardware used to create the information upstream. If not, then it will not be able to take the output, as an input and then use it to for its own intended purpose. Okay. So in terms of the modeling content and the reference information, okay, you also going to standardize, okay, and make consistent, okay, the different modeling families, okay, the workplace, the database, all must be considered to ensure that the project parties will use consistent standards so that everything is on the same page, okay, and they can talk to each other, right? The project team will also need to, structure the model, or in a sense define the file naming for all the designers, contractors, subcontractors, and other project members, so that everybody, is calling, the same thing, the same name, right? Or describing and diagram, okay, how the models will be separated. Okay, is it building by building, floor by floor, zone by zone, or area by area, or by discipline, or is it a mix? And how do you then differentiate, right? Describing the measurement system. Typically, we use the metric system, okay, and the coordinate this system, okay, to be used, right, so that we can have easier this model integration among the different BIM models or the different BIM users, okay. Identifying and agreeing upon items such as the BIM and CAD standard, the content, reference information, and the version of the IFC. We also put down the project deliverables, where we consider the project phase, what are the due dates, okay, the format, okay, any other specific information that is required as part of the deliverables. We also consider the deliverables required by the project owner, obviously. Lastly, we also will need to come up with a strategy, okay, in terms of how we want to deliver the project, okay. So you need to have a definition of this project delivery approach. Typically, we'll be looking at the organizational structure. How are we going to deliver? Is it design, bid and build, or is it just a schematic design? What exactly are we doing for the client? Okay, or what is the procurement method? Okay, the method of payment and the work breakdown structure that we will be adopting. In terms of the team selection, we will also put down what is our procedure for selecting the team. Review the competency, okay, for each BIM use. Require the team member to display that they have this competency through previous project or through demonstration. Okay, and we are also need to be clear on the BIM contractual language. Okay, the following areas to be considered and included in contract where possible: the model development and responsibilities of the parties involved, model sharing and model reliability, interoperability and the file format, the model management, intellectual property rights, or the requirements of the BIM project execution plan. The development of the plan is a collaborative effort. Okay, some portion of the procedure, for example, discussion of the goals, they are the collaborative tasks. Other portions, for example, defining the file structure, detailed storage, or information exchange, do need collaboration. So the key to successfully developing the plan is to ensure that the meetings are scheduled only for collaborative tasks. Non-cooperative tasks can be completed in a timely manner in preparation for these meetings, and the plan can be developed through a series of collaborative meetings. So typically there are 4 meetings because there are 4 different types of meeting because there are 4 steps. Remember the 4 steps? Let's go through them. The step 1 of the meeting where the stakeholders identify the BIM goals and the users. You have steps 2 where the team actually come up with the overall plan for the BIM users and the detailed plan for the individual BIM use. We have step 3 where you develop the information exchange and define the support the structure for BIM implementation. And finally, you review the completed plan.